So let's get this started. Let's go live. Let me go check. Um, Whoever is gonna chat with me here. So yeah, anyone joining in now? I am gonna be um mixing some of my songs from the music. So let me first share this around so I can get a response here. Let me share. Can I share from here? Kind of want to have copy. Let me do something quick. Let me go here. What's up? Click OK. All right. Click here. Whatever. I'm gonna just share, right post, right here, mixing some of my songs from my new EP through Asia. For more info, click link www.andrevanzart.com. Post, and we're off. All right. That being said, share around. Let's see. All right, that's about right. All right, so let's get started. Let me first give you a little overview of what the song sounds before we start. This is my first song from my EP, and it's guided by the nature spirits. So this is how it sounds. All right, mates, give me a second. I'm gonna reset my. All right, let me see if now it's gonna sound perfectly fine. Let me check OBS. Okay, OBS is perfectly fine. Anyone in the chat, let me know if it sounds weird or anything, but you let me know. Okay, now it sounds way better. So yeah, this is my new song, Guided by the Nature Spirits, from the EP through Asia. This is the first song. And the artwork is down there below. Alright. So far, I can hear a few problems here. Alright, the few problems I could hear was mostly around this area here. The area where the drums start. So, the first thing I do when I just don't know how to tackle this song by itself is I pull down all the faders. The reason why I pull down all the faders is so I can start fading in every that way I can start fading in every instrument that it's there. So first things first, let me get this to 0 so I don't have none of that. So I can start from scratch. Because I did a little bit of mixing to this song already, but I noticed there's a bunch of errors and whatnot. So, first things first. Let's get all those faders down. Here's number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. And if you're wondering how I'm doing this without actually being on the computer, it's because I'm actually using my audio interface, my mixer. Because my mixer is physical. I have a physical a mixer connected straight to Logic Pro X, and it's also the same way and possibility I have to use this mic. For those of you that are wondering, because there are some people here that tend to do everything completely digital, and I tend to be slightly half hardware, half digital, because some stuff are not that great digital. It's best to have the original source. So, oh, another tip I can give you before I continue is always, always keep the master fader at 0. The reason that I have understood throughout time why the mixer can you change its decibels when you shouldn't is because sometimes even if you like turn down all the faders individually on the instruments, sometimes it's still too loud on the master. And second, sometimes you got the perfect mix, but it's still blasting too hard on the master. And then you gotta just balance it out a little bit there. But those sort of situations where you gotta use the master to balance out things instead of individual inputs, even though you already mixed and whatnot, it's mostly used on live performances, live scenarios. On studio scenario, usually and all the time, better said, you leave the master fader on 0. And on Logic Pro X, there is two things that are different from other um, DAWs. Is that in Logic there is a master fader and then a master output. Master fader is the track where you're gonna apply all the mastering effects that you're gonna add in, like compressor, multipressor, multimetering, add limiter, linear EQ, EQ. If you're gonna add any effect to distort or make any sound to everything else, well, you start using like bit crusher delays, stereo delays. I tend to use bit crushers and stereo delays for the master fader in terms of effects, so that way I can have a more video gaming sound because I can bit crush and lower the bits, the sound bit of the entire session. But let's continue. Now, this thing is annoying me today. It's falling down. Okay, there we go. So let's continue with this. Let me just work around a little bit more, and we lower this, and we lower that. All right. Now we're good. First thing you do before you start mixing the audio itself, the decibels, you click play and you start listening. I'm going to click play on my mixer and I'm going to start listening. Bringing every instrument slightly until I feel that it's present, it's there, but it's not distorting. Because remember, you got to leave a little bit of headroom. And then on the mastering process, it's where you boost that missing sound that or dBs that you're looking for. Because if you do that before, you're totally gonna distort everything, and you shouldn't do that. So let's start. I'll click play here, and I'll start bringing in the instruments. Let's start with. Wait a minute. I'll start with. I'll start with. Okay, I'll start with that. Let's delete that. Oh, and sometimes you gotta automate some things. I want to redo my entire mixing here because even though I did a little bit of mixing, I feel like I did bad. Did very bad. Alright, back to the mixer window. Let's lower everything. Everything down. Oh, and this last two channels, which I usually don't mess around with that much other than the plugins that I'm going to add in there. These are buzzes. Buzzes are tracks where this used to send the audio to that interface so that it could send out the affected audio, but at the same time you can level out the original sound with the affected sound. That way you can have a more balanced with the original and the balanced sound, and that way you're not um, overcompensating the CPU of the computer. Another thing is that if you gotta use the same settings over and over and over and over for different instruments, it's best if you just get a bus, and from that bus you start buzzing out, uh, um, how do I say this? Routing the signal to those buses. That way you got the same sound interface and sound plugins that you're looking for in those mixing settings that you want, but on individual instruments without having to also compensate the CPU. Because, we live in a digital era, and media information can clog the CPU. It's a bit different from audio interface, because audio interface is just reproducing an acoustic sound that was turned into binary code, and it's turning into electrical sound back again to get onto the output, rather than MIDI. MIDI is constant um, binary code and programming coding, and the CPU gets cluttered because everything in the computer has to do with ones and zeros. If you add more ones and zeros to create more stuff, you can clutter the computer. That's why buses are a helpful thing. So let's get started. One second. Why am I hearing something here that I shouldn't hear? Alright, there we go. That makes more sense. Alright, we got that running. Alright, not yet. No, it's too loud there. Alright, perfect. Let's start introducing the second flute. Alright. Let me go promote my live for a moment on Instagram. Yeah, that one goes in. Oh, this is sounding way better than before. Less distorted. interesting, go check it out. Alright. So far, that sounds good. That balancing there sounded really good, but there was something missing, and I guess it was this. A little bit of that. Why are you like that? Okay. Let's check something out. Let me check this automation that I have here. I think it's a bit too loud. Grab this and pull it up a bit. Alright. Now, we're going to start working with the panning. Here's where we can start working with the panning. Let me work it out here. Let me do a loop here. That way I can keep it running and see where I can work it. So first thing we're gonna see, I think this the lower one should be on the left side. It should be on the right side. Alright. Should be more pronounced. Alright, let's go to the other section. I think the Kyoto should be in the middle. That way it sounds full. Alright. And let's get here and see the Erznu, or how you pronounce that Chinese instrument. I think it should also stay in the middle. I think it's when we get the other Kyoto when we have to start panning a bit. I think this should be on the left side too. This thing that we're gonna hear right now. Yeah. That sounds about right. We should boost it up a little bit. This one should be on the right. It should be a little louder. Still a little louder. Oh, you know what I could add to this? My new plugin, the Cymatic Diablo light. This plugin. Let me stop it here for a second. Let's wait until it comes up. Alright, let me stop it right here for a second. Here's the Diablo. The Cymatic already up placed on their store, on their shop. On their shop they have the new fully produced and with all the features of the Diablo, but this is the light version. And with the light version, which is free from Cymatics, wow, I got it. I heard about it from Ocean, the YouTuber and slash producer, and basically what this plugin does is it helps you clip and give more punch to your sound. But here's the trick: it's not gonna punch and clip the decibels and make it louder from the decibels. It's actually gonna boost up the signal, which is better. Why? Because instead of making it louder, which making it louder through the output, which could distort the sound if you don't do it correctly. This instead is before it hits the actual output, it's boosting the signal so that it sounds louder from the dB, supposedly, but it's actually the signal that it's stronger now because of this. It's like, look at it this way: it's like phantom power. Phantom power is this imaginary electrical signal that is giving power to a microphone that doesn't have internal batteries, like a dynamic microphone. And it's like this one. Um, well, the thing is that this will boost the signal, but not the audio output, which is gonna make it louder. In theory, it's gonna make your brain think it's louder, but it's not really louder. And it's gonna compress at the same time, so it's more even now. So, and it's good for like drums, percussion, risers, any um, unfield recording, field recording, anything that is like that. It's not melodic or bass. It's just something that is, a hit, an impact, a percussion, a drum, uh, an orchestra, a percussion or something. It'll make it sound louder. I'll give you an example. I like to put this at 20, sometimes at 20. Clip it at like 15. Put it soft so it doesn't clip too much. And then the output, I usually leave this how it is. And I'll give you a demonstration. Let me click play. Let me solo actually the track. And check it out. You see? Louder, but it's not clipping it. Because it's not the dBs what it's putting stronger. It's the signal. Let me try again. Let me show you again. And you see it's hitting on negative 13.8 decibels. That is so useful because it saturates the signal in a smooth way. Even the light version, it's perfect. Like, I haven't had the need to get the new one, the fully premium version of the Diablo, but I might get it eventually because just by having the punch in the clip is amazing. With the addition of the other stuff, it's amazing. Look, like, so amazing. I recommend it highly. I highly recommend it. You just go to Cymatic's website and you go to their shop and it'll show you there the Diablo. You can start with the light one so you can test it out, and if you like it, you can eventually upgrade to the full version. So yeah, let's continue. You can close this up. Alright, I think the compressor here it's alright. What track is this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there we go. No, that's too much. Keep it there. Uh-huh. Alright, that's how it should be. a tip that you should learn: always click save every now and then, because you never know what could happen. Computers can go haywire every now and then. Alright, so let me see what we have here. Let me check if anyone has written. Okay. Alright, everything's fine. Alright. Let's continue. I might in this stream mix 2 or 3 songs, because this one is a bit simple. It doesn't have too much going on. But there's other songs from this EP that there's a lot going on in terms of frequencies and all that stuff. It gets cluttered sometimes, and you need to know how to balance it out. Especially the hardest thing that I've always found to fucking mix is the sub. The sub bass is incredibly hard, because it's not a sound that is on a specific sound frequency. It's way down in the low frequencies. It's more like a rumble kind of thing, and you never know when you're gonna mix it well, because the difference between a bass than a sub bass is that the bass is just basically um, it's basically a melodic instrument, but in the lower frequencies, right? But then the sub bass, it's more like something that's like it's like a pillow under the entire song. Not every song has a sub bass, but if you add a sub bass to it, it's incredibly difficult to mix it. And if you get the correct mixing, wow, it makes the song just blow up. Anyways, like the sub bass is just this bassy sound rumble underneath, and it's obviously gonna do the same frequencies or notes that the entire song is doing, but it's just this thing on the bottom of the entire song, just giving it this extra boost to it. And if you mix it wrong and you put it on a loud speaker or monitor or something, trust me, it's gonna sound horrible, like godly horrible. And that's why you should always keep in mind when you're mixing a sub bass. You could either try mixing it with the actual sub bass boom boxes that come for studio, the sub bass monitors, or headphones. Headphones are your perfect solution to mix sub bass, because if it hurts your ear, you're wrong. That's a tip. And if it's another tip that I can give you from the sub bass is it's if it's um hitting it in a way that it distorts or masks any other sound that you're having on your song, then bye. You should just level it up again. Mix it up again. So let's continue here. Do 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 do. I feel like I need to EQ this a little bit more. What the hell happened here? Why am I now only hearing one thing? Why am I only hearing from one side of the headphones? Did my headphones just die on me? Ah, I think they did. Okay, let me check. Let me test this out for a second. That's odd. It could be the cable. I wouldn't know. Anyways, I might have to mix and check my headphones later. Alright. Let's continue here. And it kind of sucks because I like listening to myself while I do this, so I know that I can feedback myself. But whatever. Do. Why don't I have? There we go. Another tip when you're equalizing, what you do is, whether it is a visual equalizer like this one, or you're using a fader styled equalizer, like the old vintage ones, or some that are modern trying to imitate the vintage ones. It's just find the annoying frequencies on the. You first find the annoying frequencies on the instruments, and usually the annoying frequencies are over here on this section, and on the low mids, and sometimes on the highs, but not too much. Usually that's for other types of like really high pitched instruments, but sometimes for this types of instruments that are like soft and not that intense, you just find the frequency that you hate, and then you just lower it. Right there, between 500 and 800 hertz is where you gotta go, and then you lower it. And you see how it sounds more clean now? In 660 hertz is where it was just yuck. And there you have it. Now we listen to it with the other instrument, and you'll see how it's gonna blend in better. Here is not doing what it's supposed to do, so let's get to it. If my computer wants to cooperate. Right there, 525 hertz. Got to work with those drums. They sound nice when they're like really low in the decibels, but when they get louder, they sound a bit muddy. Like over here. Over here they sound a little bit cool, so we gotta work on it. Let me actually get that part. Okay, this is the moment where music production gets a little bit annoying, where you have to like put in loop a certain section until you find what you want to do within that section. So, yeah. Here we go. Said before, once you find those frequencies that you dislike on the EQ, you then start adding all those frequencies that are nice from that particular instrument, and you start balancing that up from the yucky frequencies to the nice frequencies, and you just balance that up. And another thing that you have to do with the EQ is always keep in mind when it comes to like balancing it out in terms of frequency spectrum. Don't just think that, oh, frequency spectrum, I just need to have a bass, a melody, and some chords, and some drums, and there I have the whole thing. No. What I mean also with this EQ balancing frequencies thing is that not just with the instruments that you gotta have a balance of all the instruments, but you also gotta, within the equalization, know when to balance things out and when to have things on the know which instruments are the lower frequency instruments, which ones are going to keep the mid frequencies full, which are going to keep the high frequencies full, and that way you know which ones go with which. Alright? Keep that in mind. Listen to the how this is gonna sound completely with every single instrument sounding at the same time. In a way, we got this part, the last part, and this is the point where you know how's it all sounding when you have all the instruments stacked up. All right. Got all the things I had in the master, so you can see what I did. All right, we'll use this section to do that thing. All right, this is a master chain that I always have. I saved it as a preset because I like how it sounds. The first thing I do is compress. Threshold on negative 14.5. The ratio I put it as every 6 times the sounds every 6 repetition of the sound, it'll do its high peak. And then I make up the gain final sound go further than that high peak. That's why I always try to keep the compressor first. That way we can have a nice balance within every single instrument. Then the second thing I do, here's the second thing that I do, is I put a multimeter. Why do I put a multimeter? It does not affect the sound at all. This is to see the range of where I'm hitting. And there I know that I'm hitting more or less to the -4, -4.7 kind of sound within the left and right speakers, or the panning of the whole song. And from there I can know which frequencies I need to work with to make it a more balanced thing in the stereo. And then after that I add a limiter, so that after I have everything balanced out in like a straight cohesive sound and it's all glued up, I like to add a limiter just so I can boost it up a little bit, but it'll keep it all at the same time leveled out. And I always put between 3 decibels, 2 decibels and 3 decibels, and then the out ceiling I always put it between -0.6 and -1. And I always put remove DC offset. That is everything that is like wrongly panned or something that it's like a little bit off. That the limiter is gonna straight it up and make it sound cohesive between the left and the right. Then I add, and then the lock head, which is when is it gonna lock this effect of the 2 decibels and the -1 output. It'll be locked in at every 50 milliseconds. Because I like to have, before the 50 milliseconds, to have it a little bit, a little bit dynamic before it hits those 50 milliseconds. Sometimes I like to put 20 milliseconds, just so it hits faster, that leveling of the limiter, but sometimes it's good to have a little bit of inconsistency for a little bit. Not for too long, because 200 milliseconds is too much. But 50 is alright. Then after that, I'm not gonna turn it on, but I sometimes add the isotope vinyl if I want to have that lo-fi kind of sound. I don't use it that often lately. I used to use it a lot when I was in that lo-fi cheap tuning kind of vibe a lot, but now since I have gone more for a more cheap tuning sound most of the time, or modern video game sound, the vinyl isotope thing, it's only for occasions, only for special occasions. In this one you can put mechanical noise, you can wear and tear the noise, you can put electrical noise, you can put the dust, how much dust it sound. And this vinyl isotope plugin, what it does, it's imitating the sound of a record, of an old vinyl record. That's what it's trying to imitate. And you can put it between years 200, 1980s, 1970s, 1960s, 1950s, and 1930s. And then you can replicate the sound of how it sounded on a 33 RPMs, and then at the same time at 45 RPMs, and then at 78 RPMs. You can make it sound mono or stereo. For vinyl isotope vinyl, I've actually noticed that mono sounds a bit more cleaner in a way than stereo, but it all depends on your preference. And then on the warp depth, you can actually make it slow down. And I when I do the slow down, I tend to do it for how do I say this? Special occasions with the automation. Because the slowdown, what it does, it's imitating the sound of when you have a record playing and you slow down the RPMs and it goes, and it goes and it's low and down. That's basically what the isotope warp section is doing, and that's basically it. Then you can change what type of wave and warp model do you want. Do you want the warp from here, the warp from here? Do you want it to warp from lower frequencies and then gets, warp the lower frequencies and keep the higher frequencies and the mid frequencies stable? Do you want it to go high on the lower frequencies and then dip on the mids and then stable on the high frequencies? Do you want it to go high on the lows, dip on the mids, and high on the highs, and then dip again on the really high frequencies? And then there is this one, which is the same thing as the other one, but flipped around, going from dipping on the lower frequencies, getting high on the low mids, then dip on the mid highs, and then pop high again on the higher frequencies. That's basically what it does. It's a really nice plugin. It's free. You can get it there from Isotope. There's another plugin that I use from Isotope sometimes, but not always. You gotta use everything from your arsenal. You gotta know when to use what. Let me change my Wi-Fi for a second. Alright, I think I'm back. I'm back and better. It's not gonna be that laggy. Okay, let me check on here. Como boceteo. Ah, they're asking me here, huh? Ah, bueno. I don't know. I don't know if you want me to go as loud as them. Because that's annoying. That's annoying. That's loud and annoying. That's a different type of loud. A los de boceteo, eso hay que comprimirlo. Eso hay que comprimirlo, darle limiter, ponerlo en negativo 12 y darle. Ni eso, vamos a darle mute. Le damos mute y ya, se resuelve el problema. The boceteo, that's annoying. Because one thing is loud, one thing is obnoxious. We don't want obnoxious. We just mute those people. With the, those people with the cars. So that's getting famous here in Puerto Rico. The people with the cars, and then having them jacked up with boom boxes everywhere on the doors, on the windshields, on the trunk, everywhere. It's like no. Especially when they're using like 10,000 watts of sound. It's like, dude, is that even necessary? You're not doing a fucking EDM fucking concert. You're just driving by with your freaking car. Can you at least have like a decent stereo sound on your vehicle and just have something moderate? Not this freaking obnoxiously loud. Jeez, no. A big no. It's a big no for me. I like loud music, but it's a big no for me. I pass. If I ever did something like that, this is the way I would do it. I'll have two nice speakers on the doors, a nice stereo placed on the car that I can, work around, make it sound nice, and I can equalize and compress and stuff like that perfectly fine. Because there's some that you can do that on the car, and then I would have maybe a small one on the trunk, just a small one, just one small one, so I can have extra, or two small ones on the trunk, so I can have, if we're like in the back part of the car, we can have better sound. But that's it. I wouldn't just have 10,000 fucking watts of fucking sound. 10,000 watts? Why would I want fucking 10,000 watts of sound on my car? I'm gonna blow up my ears and then just bleed out. That's what's gonna happen. No, 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 no. No, no, no. No, no. Honestly, no, no. That's a big no. I pass. I pass on that. And I like loud music. That's a lot to say. I like loud music, and I pass. I pass. I just pass. No. I pass. I pass. I'll just put a high pass filter on them. And off you go. And then I click the mute button. Because that's all I care. Because I like loud music, but if I'm going to play loud music, it's for myself and for the people that love my music. Not to just be obnoxious. If you want to be obnoxious, go do a concert. Go be a DJ. Go be a musician. Go be a singer. Go do something loud in the correct, appropriate place. But don't be just walking by the fucking street on a place where probably people with hypersensitive ears are probably trying to enjoy their place and have a nice conversation, and you walk by like, and you're like, yo, no, 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 no. That's wrong. That's totally wrong. You cannot, like, if you're obstructing someone's peace, that's when things are like, no, a big no. But if you're just playing it loud in a moderate way and non-obtrusive and obnoxious way, then sure, why not? Because I had neighbors that I've played loud music, but they're not doing it in an obnoxious way. They're doing it in a nice, clean manner. Even though it's music that I don't like, but still, they're doing it in a nice, moderate way where it doesn't disturb anyone. But that's just my line of thought. I like being loud, but don't be obnoxious. Anyways, then I add a linear EQ. Now, I don't know if any other DAW comes with one of these natively. I know there is other ones that you can buy and stuff like that. But the reason why I use the linear EQ on the master fader is because the linear EQ, it's not really changing the color of the sound of the entire song. Since this is the master fader, I'm working with the entire thing. It's only just taking out those frequencies that are sounding when everything is together, that are like just not good. And what I do is I boost up a little bit the high frequency so it sounds more bright and more clean. I keep the high mids on the 3,500 hertz. Then I keep the high mids, or better said, the mids on the 1,200 hertz. Then I keep the low mids on the 500 hertz. And then I keep the bass at 174 hertz at negative 3.5 decibels, and I don't dip it that much, just 3 decibels down. And then I take out every frequency up until 30 hertz, or 34.6 hertz to be more specific, at 24 decibels. And the reason why I use the linear EQ is because it won't change the color. It's just going to take out all those frequencies that are just not good for the mix. So, that being said, that's the next thing I add, and that I use a lot. Then, just because of personal preference, I add a bit crusher, just to make it sound more old school sounding. Sometimes I put it like in 8 bits, sometimes 16 bits, because I like to make it sound like it came out from those old computers, old video games, old speakers, and it's sounding, old school. better said, because I tend to do a lot of 8-bit music or 16-bit music, and I have that tendency to make it sound like that. When I'm doing this type of music, but when I'm doing something with real instruments, I won't use the bit crusher. This is just what I'm teaching you right now. It's things that I use when I'm doing a full-on MIDI composition. If I'm doing it with real instruments, like my drums, I don't use the bit crusher at all. So let me 1 second here. Where is Facebook? Where's Facebook? What's Facebook doing here? What the hell are you doing there? That's weird. What are you doing there? I don't know. Beats me. Anyways, let me go here for a second. Alright. Mom, you're writing gibberish on Japanese. I can read every character you wrote. It's mata ya na ka ka, but it doesn't say anything. Those are just syllables. Anyways, and then for the last thing that I'm gonna add to make that sound more old school, for some reason, don't know. I haven't delved too much on the technical side of this, but for some reason, old school, uh, old school synthesizers, keyboards, computers, um, video game consoles, and stuff like that tend to have a 96 point millisecond delay on the right and left outputs, and it was so subtle that which is why I put it on 6 on 10 decibel on 10 mix on each side, left and right, and then the feedback I put at 35 on each, so it's not that hardcore. And then on the left side, I don't put any crossfade, but on the right side, I put 6% of delay. Crossfade. That way, for some reason, back in the day, that was a thing that the machines would do by themselves. It wasn't that they added it to the production; it was just something that it did by itself. Um, so to make it more authentical sounding, for that kind of old school sound, well, I added the left and right 96 millisecond delay, which is basically, if you want to put it in notation, it's a 116 triplet. And that's the last thing I add on this master chain here. And then it sounds like this, everything together. Alright, and that's basically how I mix my music when it comes to anything of this. Um, just so you know, this is the way I do things. I hope you all had something interesting to learn from this. That being said, from my streams from now on until I release this EP, I'll be just mixing my EP, any song that I haven't mixed correctly or completed the mixing and mastering. The last mastering process you do is when you add every track on a back to back, and then you mix them so that when they transition to one track to another, it doesn't have that big of a gap of difference of decibels. But that's a different type of mixing. That's just balancing out overall the EP itself or the album itself or the songs themselves, just to balance them out when they're in the uh, Spotify playlist or the iTunes playlist or the um, on an MP3 CD, on a cassette tape, on a vinyl, on a 45, you name it. So that's basically how I do my songs, and like I said, I'll be mixing my songs. The ones I don't get to mix throughout the week, and it reach Friday, and I'm still mixing. I'll be mixing those unless I'm super inspired and I want to do something else, a new song or something. Then I'll be doing it. After I release this EP, I'll be releasing some singles afterwards. I don't know how soon after the EP is released. I'll be having those songs released because I have a few singles that I worked some side projects I worked in between the EP, which basically the EP, as you can see on the artwork down below, it features songs, styles of music from Japan, Taiwan, India, Thailand, Russia, and Turkey. Some of them are not by themselves. Some of them are like here, for example, it's a slight mix of Taiwan and Japan. It has some Japanese instruments and some Taiwanese instruments. And then on the Indian one, it has a little bit of Turkish instruments and a little bit of Indian instruments. And then we have the Russian one with 100% Russian sounding instruments with floor on the floor kind of drums. And then the Thailand one, it's 100% Thailand. It might have a little bit of Indonesia or something like that in between there, but it's more or less, it's basically 100% um, Thailand sounding. And the Thailand one, it could be a bit to some people, but we can't be winners all the time, you know. We all have our ups and downs, you know. And it's not because I did a bad thing. It's because Thailand music it's not that appealing to Westerners, like compared to Japanese, Korean, and some areas of China, like Taiwan, Hong Kong, and so on and so on. So yeah. Anyways, you can catch me on every social network as Andrew Van Zark. You can click on my